for Pentecost, August 11th. I'm not telling you when rapture's going to be. That's my new slogan over here. I'm just saying, based on biblical theology. This is something that I found I want to share with you guys. It's called Grace Communion, Old Testament Laws, Harvest Seasons, and Ancient Israel. Now, we are out of the barley and wheat harvest. Where that's done. Okay, that's spring, late spring, early summer. We're in midsummer, getting ready to head to fall, starting in September, then October. It's a done data. Something's got to give. The Elohim will intervene. And then I want to show you something in Revelation. I don't care what we try to calculate. But blessed is the man that God finds that is watching for his return. So even though we are doing what we're doing, trying to calculate, trying to figure out when it's happening, when it's going to happen, don't you think God is blessed with us just for us being attentive and watching? Okay? Watching. You don't want to come home and find your kids sitting down and not doing nothing and you gave them a list of things to do. House still messy. They've been on the phone, been on the Xbox, PlayStation, and ain't took out no garbage, ain't washed no dishes, ain't cleaned up the bathroom, they ain't put in no work. You're going to be angry when you come home to find them doing nothing. Okay, just put that in your spirit for those that don't believe in good works. Various Bible laws and stories refer to ancient Israel crops and harvest. It may be, therefore, be helpful to some general information about harvests and seasons. Major crops of the land are listed in Deuteronomy. This is what I've been telling folks. You got to read that Old Testament. 8 and 8. Barley, you got the wheat, barley, grapes and figs, pomegranates, olives, and honey. These are all your harvests as far as fruit and, things to eat. Okay. This is the harvest time. These are the things that were harvested. The spring harvest. Okay. Various herbs and legumes were harvested in spring. But the most important spring crop were cereals, barley and wheat. Spring. We're past spring. Okay. A spring ritual took particular note of the cereals. Newly harvested grain could not be eaten until the first fruit of grain had been offered on the day after the Sabbath, which is the 8th day, which is the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, which the festival of unleavened bread in Leviticus 23 starts the 15th day, which precedes that is the 14th day when Passover begins. The Bible says on the 15th day of the first month, you have unleavened bread for 1 week. Now, back to Pentagon has 5 sides. Even though they threw a missile into it and tried to call it a plane. Pentecost, near the end of the grain harvest, okay, included grain of loaf offerings, verses 16 and 17, and Leviticus chapter 9, Leviticus 23. Okay, Pentecost also called the Feast of Harvest, Exodus 23 and 16. Barley and wheat were planted in the autumn, which was fall, October. That's autumn time. And ripened in the spring. Barley matured faster and would be harvested sooner. We've passed that. The first fruits of grain offering during the festival of unleavened bread, which is the 15th day unto the 22nd day of the first month, would have been barley. In the early stages of the Israelite settlement, the most important cereal was barley because of the necessity to settle fringed areas and barley's tolerance to harsh conditions. Okay, there's a author, I'm not going to try to name. He's Agriculture of Iron Age Israel, 1987, page 7. Okay. The amount of distribution of rainfall together with the soil conditions limited the area in Eretz Israel where wheat is cultivated to the coastal valleys, the Valley of Jezreel and the Upper Jordan Valley and Bashan Valley. The Israelites did not conquer these areas at first, Judges 1 and 19. In the northern Negev, wheat does well only in rainy years, which are not frequent, page 89 in his book, Wheat ripens later than the barley, and according to the Jezer manual, was harvested during the 6th agricultural year. Okay, the end of April to the end of May. Page 88. Also see the chart on page 37 in his book. Okay, this is the harvest times for wheat and barley, because we notice this is scriptural as well. Where the climate is warmer, as in the Shephelah and the Jordan Valley, crops mature earlier than in regions where the climate is cool, as in the Judean hill country of Galilee. In Galilee, for example, part of the grain harvest would be complete after Pentecost, in years in which Pentecost came as early as mid-May, if we were not in a leap year. Even though all the crop may not be harvested by Pentecost, Pentecost celebrated the entire grain harvest, including the small amount of grain to be harvested shortly after the festival. Then it gives you a chart here. But now check out how they look at, see, Pentecost, they say it falls early. So that means Pentecost can come late. The summer harvest, okay, bold print, after Pentecost. Summer harvest after Pentecost. We just read up here that Pentecost can come early. But if it comes early, then that means it can come late in the summer. The summer harvest after Pentecost. Most of the harvest was fruit. Remember when I told you in Acts 2, or if you had to do is go read it, they were accused of drinking wine. So that means wine is made from grapes. They were accused of drinking new wine. So that means if there's a summer harvest, grapes, olives, dates, and figs, and pomegranates, and numerous fruits, seeds, and vegetables are lesser important. But this is in a summer harvest. Pentecost. Deuteronomy 11, 10, and 11. Contrast Egypt's irrigated vegetables gardens with the Canaan's hilly terrain and seasonal rains, implying that vegetables were less common in Canaan. Proverbs 15 and 7 indicates that the vegetables were among the least esteemed foods. The Bible has a few references to gardens, cultivated vegetables, and wild plants. The small number of references to vegetables and low regard in which vegetables were held suggested very strongly that vegetables did not constitute an important part of the Iron Age diet. Okay. Now let's look at the major crops after Pentecost. Grapes were the first major crop to ripen in good year. When the grain yield was great, threshing and grape picking overlapped. That would be in June, technically in the spring, since summer doesn't officially start until June 22nd. Okay, we're talking about in Israel. The importance of grapes and olives is illustrated by the fact that the essence had wine and oil, first fruits, festivals similar to the biblical fruit offerings for grain. The festivals also included the relative timing of these crops, and new wine festivals came 50 days or 7 weeks after Pentecost. Until new wine was offered, no one could drink any of the new juice. Temple Scroll, column 19 and 21, 14 weeks after Pentecost, shortly before the Feast of Trumpets. Wow. Now it says, was the new olive oil festival. No one could use new oils until some oil had been offered. Okay, the grape harvest was usually completed before Tabernacles. Tabernacles falls in October this year, and the new moon count, October 7th, is the first day of the 7th month. Not July, folks. Stop using that pagan system. In Hebrew, July is the 4th month. Okay? It says, but some of the olive harvest came after the autumn festivals. Autumn, that's September, October. Okay? I'm not telling you when rapture should be. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to bring you guys more intel that I find, okay? Something to chew on, okay? In ancient Israel, primary harvest season extended from, check this out, from April to November. This harvest period might be subdivided into 3 seasons and 3 major crops: spring grain harvest, summer grape harvest, and autumn olive harvest. Okay? It's very important to check out. Now, I'm not going to go through all this to beleaguer the time, because I really wanted to get that to you. There are harvest times. Some grain might be harvested after Pentecost. Threshing, grape picking might overlap. The olive harvest came both before and after the festival of Tabernacles. So we're talking about harvest. Which harvest was larger and which one was more important? So we see that barley and wheat was important. It's a main food staple. But if we want to say harvest time, ladies and gentlemen, well, we've missed that. We're now in the summer grape harvest time. And the one after that is autumn olive harvest. We're in the grape harvest time right now. We're in summer. We're in grape harvest. Pentecost. Now, let me show you something else. Let's go to the scriptures, okay? And we're going to go to Revelation 4. Go back up to Revelation 4 and verse 4. And round about the throne 24 elder seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their head crowns of gold. Verse number Penta. Out of the throne proceeded lightning and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of burning before the throne, which were the 7 spirits of God. Penta. Okay? The 7 spirits of God are the 7 churches. Okay? Verse 6. And before the throne, where was it like unto a sea of glass, unto crystal. In the middle of the throne, round about the throne, were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. Now, you see in verse 5. Verse 5 is Penta. It mentions Christ. On his head were the 7 spirits. The 7 churches of God. Okay? Now, let me show you something else. I believe we need to go to chapter 5. Because it says here in verse 10, the 24 elders fell down before him that sat on the throne and worshipped him that lived forever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. You have created all things for your pleasure. They are and were created. Now, let's go to 5. Let's see, did I go? No, let's go to 6. Now, this proves, ladies and gentlemen, that we are in heaven before the first seal is open. Okay? Let me go back up here. Because you saw in Revelation 5 and 5, the 7 spirits of God, the 7 churches of God, where they were on his head like a crown. Okay? Now, let me go back to 4 real quick. And okay, Revelation 5 and 6. Okay. Beheld, and lo, in the middle of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb. This is Jesus. As it had been slain, died on the cross, and was resurrected, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. So, at Pentecost, 7 spirits, the 7 churches of God, were sent forth throughout all the earth. And then you see in Revelation, before the first seal is opened, because as I said before in my last video, tribulation doesn't start immediately after we're raptured. It's going to take a little bit of time. Okay? I believe that it's going to happen when the AC Signs that peace accord with many. Okay. So he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. So the Son of God, the Word, took the book out of the hand of the Elohim, and then he begins to open the seals. Notice how in Revelation 4 and 5, the 7 churches, the 7 spirits of God. So anybody likes to argue that we're not in heaven before tribulation, all you got to do is read the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. The 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth had been collected back. Had been collected back before the first seal was even opened. You got to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, what kind of a God would he be to allow that which he called precious, the bride? Because if you read here in Revelation 6, the spirit of peace is going to be withdrawn from the earth. Why would God allow the bride? Let me see if I can find this part in this video. A red horse had power given him, and there was here it goes, verse 4. And there went out another horse which was red, and the power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. So God has given mankind and Satan the authority, the okay to kill each other. And then when you go a little further in this one, this is where you have talks about the measure of wheat for a penny. So listen, in other words, I'm going to give you the badge to be able to kill. You're going to have the law in order to kill. Verse 6, because the spirit of peace will be taken from the earth. Why would God allow the bride, his harvest, to go through that? What is there to collect if we're given the okay to kill each other? When the spirit of peace leaves this place, oh my goodness, you cannot tell me that tribulation is not going to begin then. Time frame wise, we got a hint or a clue to it. Because the price of food, the cost of living is going to be so high. Verse 6, you see it. No, verse 4, I'm sorry. The spirit of peace will be taken from the earth. And then you get down here to verse 6. What does it say? That the cost of food is going to be high. But verse 4 says spirit of peace is going to be taken away from the earth, and everybody will have the right to kill each other. They're going to be killing each other over food, trying to eat, trying to survive. And you think God is going to allow his son's bride to go through all these killings and all of this foolishness that's going to go on the earth? You got to be really smoking some good weed. Sativa, indigo, you got your medical license. What are you smoking if you think that God is going to allow this to happen? So then, therefore, what would 1 Thessalonians 5 and 9 need to be written for? For you are not appointed to wrath, but to obtain salvation. This is not obtaining salvation, to be on the earth when the spirit of peace is taken from the earth. Are you serious? Really? No matter when we can figure it out when harpazo is going to happen. But that's a dangerous time. That's a dangerous time. I want to leave it right there for you. Just to clarify some things about the harvest time. We're past the wheat and barley. We're into the fruit. We're into the grape harvest right now. So just something to think about, something to chew on, something to meditate on. It's the last video for today. But, matter of fact, if you want to check this article out before I end the video, go to, let's see. It's called, see if I can open this up. It's called, let's see, archive.gic.org. Okay, it's going to pull that up, and you can check out, you can read this for yourself. All right, guys, deuces.